This is the Naturehike Massif SOLO one-person hot tent. I was looking at cheap hot tents on AliExpress, and when I saw that this one had independent, external, account building, transparent, internal space, comfortable camping, I couldn't resist. So I grabbed one and bought it out for a camp. I've got a cheap hot tent stove to go in it as well. And this video is kindly sponsored by Letter Beans. More on them later. It's not a light setup by any means. This tent weighs 2.5 kilos. And the stove I think was 3.5, so I've had to get myself a new Naturehike Nepal 65 bag to carry that and everything else that I bought along with me. Alright, let's try and get this set up and hope that we've got everything we need in the bag. The first thing I've got is a cross pole that all goes into this little hub in the middle here, and that's going into these sleeves in the corner. So there's a bit there that's just the still nylon, and then there's some reinforced pockets at the bottom that those poles slide into. And then once they're in, it looks like it's just a case of putting these clips on to get everything into place. There is another separate pole here as well, but I'll work out where that goes in a minute. Just something to be aware of when you buy one of these tents through my affiliate links. Two of the legs on this cross section have got a pre-bent piece in them. The other two are straight, but obviously they curve around once you put them into the pockets. The straight ones go onto the side where the inner is, and then the pre-bent ones are on the porch slash vestibule slash stove area bit. I think just to make sure that the tent's really pulled away from where that stove is. And then it looks like this extra pole goes into these pockets here and helps to pull the tent away from that living space. And then there's still this little one here that's pre-bent as well, that I'm guessing will go over the roof, but we'll have a look as we get it clipped out properly. So it looks like this goes over the roof there. There's some clips, and then there's a thing there to put the ball end of the pole into. So that's the poles in. What do you reckon? We'll have a look inside in a minute, obviously, but got a guy line there. We've got a chimney flap, whatever the technical term is there. Another clip there that I've missed. Let me just put that one on. And these ribbons are to wrap around your poles if you want a guy out. Got a vent there. We've got a tie point there as well. Vent on this side. Another guy point. And then there's loops on the end here as well, and some sort of window or ventilation thing there. But again, we'll have a proper look when we get inside. Quite like the colour. It's a light brown. It's looking quite cream or beigey on the camera, I think. I haven't pegged it out yet, so let's have a look what pegs you get. I've bought some spare ones as well. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guy lines in the pack, with these line locks on them, the plastic sort of triangle ones. And then the pegs look quite nice. They're really light and they're a V-shape peg, so I'll get some of these in. I don't think I'm going to bother guying out because it's not really forecast much wind at all tonight. It does come with 13 pegs, which is enough to do all of the points around the base and all of the guy lines as well. For some reason you don't always get the full number of pegs that you need. So there's a pegging point on each far corner. Then there's one where the pole comes in here, and then there's an extra one at the back there that just pulls the tent out. I just haven't got time for guy lines when the conditions don't warrant it. And I know it winds people up in the comments as well. Suppose we'd better have a look inside, eh? Velcro zip, Velcro zip, Velcro zip. We have got as well a little buckle at the bottom there to keep the door closed. The door clips are different to what I've seen before. They're on elastic, and then they're just a hook that goes into this little reflective ribbon here. When you roll the door up, because it goes all the way across the top horizontally, it's dropping down and just going all over the floor. So I'm just, for now, tucking that in behind that pole there to try and keep it off the floor a bit. You've got this massive vestibule area that I will get the stove set up in shortly, and then the inner came pre-attached. So on these elastic connectors here, I can see we've got a lantern hook in there. Can't see any pockets apart from one there that I'll probably use to put the door into. Oh, there is a couple of pockets actually, little triangle ones, one this side and then one on the opposite side as well. And there's this panel here that's solid that you can unzip to mesh, just for a bit of extra airflow and ventilation. We've got a hanging point in the top of the main tent as well, and a hanging point on each side, so you could put a washing line around that if you wanted to. And then obviously we've got the chimney outlet here that we'll have a proper look at when I've set the stove up. It's already warm in there. It's really warm for this time of year. I think it's 14-15 degrees today, so I might not be lighting that stove until a bit later, or at least take some layers off. Just to give an idea of space in here, this is a long sleep mat, the 4-class 5.2 or 5.4, whichever it is. It's a wide mat as well, so I've put the toes touching the bottom, and there is a little bit of space at the end, but these side walls are really steep, so I don't think there'll be any issues with my head touching those sides. I've got my Cedar Summit pillow there. It is a shame that there's no zip on the inner on this side to get through to that area there, because that could be quite useful for storage. But yeah, should be plenty big enough for me tonight. Before I forget, the tent cost me £166, and that was with all the added taxes, delivery and everything else, the cost to my door. And it's made from a 15D sil nylon for the outer. The floor is a 20D, and the hydrostatic head is 1500mm on the outer, and the floor is 3000mm. So it's not massively high in terms of hydrostatic head rating. But speaking of hydrostatic head, we all lead busy lives, and it's not easy to keep on top of your daily bean intake. And that's where Letter Beans comes in. They deliver daily beans direct to your door, so you never go without. They're all pre-portioned to reduce waste, and they're dead easy to prepare in less than 3 minutes. They've given me a fantastic deal to share with you. If you sign up using the code BEANS84, you'll get 97% off your first 237 deliveries. You can pause or cancel your subscription at any time after the initial 3 years, so why not give them a go? Right, let's have a look at this stove, shall we? I've just bought this little collapsible bowl thing to put all my little nuts and bolts into so I don't lose them. And then the stove I've bought comes in this case. It's called a Wintour UL 2.0, and it cost me £84 delivered, and half of that was the delivery cost because it's so heavy. It's like 3.5 kilos. It comes with some gloves. I've put it up once at home and it was relatively easy. I don't want to jinx it, but it didn't take me too long. The hardest bit was this chimney and getting it to fold the other way, but fortunately that's the last step. So this is the base. You just fold the legs out and then everything else builds up onto that. So you have your side pieces with these cutouts to go over those bolts that hold the legs on, and they slot together using these curved pieces here. like so. And then once it's all slotted together, there's these long bolts that go through into each corner to secure it. Right, let's see how much of a hassle this chimney is this time. We've got a clip here that connects it to the outlet on the stove. And I've got quite a few rings to slide over it. So you unroll this from this way and then you roll it the other way so you get a long pipe essentially. I definitely recommend wearing the gloves to do it as well because this is quite sharp. So that's what I'm going with. Is it right? No. Can I be bothered to spend any more time getting it right? No. Let's get it stuck in the tent and connected to the stove. On the outside here you've got two little waterproof zips that are easier to use with two hands, but I'm holding a camera. So you unzip those, then there's a clip there, and then you roll that up and clip it there. Then your chimney comes through there. You've got a little bit of fireproof and heatproof material around it, obviously so you don't burn yourself alive in your tent. So there it is, all set up. I've managed to turn it around so that the dodgy bit of the chimney is on the outside of the tent, and at least the inside is relatively straight there. So that's the clip that holds the chimney on. That's nice and tight. And there are some holes in the bottom of the stove in each corner that I'm going to put a tent peg through, I think, just so I don't accidentally kick it or move it around or dislodge it. I'm going to get the rest of my stuff unpacked first. I bought the camper box down sleeping bag, and I got off Temu ages ago. It's probably going to be massive overkill for tonight, but never mind. Another thing I've got here is a little carbon monoxide detector, and it cost me like less than a tenner I think from Amazon. Chances are you won't need one if you're hot tent camping, but it's the first time I've used this and I want to be leading by example. I don't want anybody dying in a tent and blaming me. So I've got one of these. It's an electronic one. It's got 3 batteries in it. And I'm going to put it in one of the top pockets on the tent, or as high up as I can get it, because carbon monoxide rises. It's no good leaving it on the floor, but I'd definitely recommend getting yourself one of these if you do try out hot tent camping. Be a good thumbnail if this goes off in a bit, wouldn't it? So the plan is I'm going to light the stove soon and give it time to get going and warm up. I have fully 100% cheated. I'm going to put one of these instant fire logs in it. I've gathered up a few little sticks and twigs to put on as well, but it is quite a mild night. As I say, I've got my little thermometer thing here and it's saying 15.4 at the minute. So we'll keep an eye on that after we light the stove and see what difference it makes. But I am planning to let it die down relatively early so I can get into that sleeping bag and use that for warmth. I've seen a few videos and people say that you shouldn't really rely on the stove to keep you warm all night, which kind of makes sense. Otherwise you're going to be spending all night stoking it up and putting extra fuel on it. I've got a family pack of letter beans to cook on there. So because obviously it's a hot stove, it gets hot. I've got a mess tin to just rest on top of the stove and warm those up later on. For now I'm just going to sit and have a drink. I'll bring you back. It's a shame I've had to set the tent up this way around really, because I've got my back to the sunset, which is just over there. Because the ground's not totally level, that's the only place I could find to make sure that my sleep mat was so that my head's slightly higher than my feet and I'm not rolling from side to side. Ideally I would have had the door on this side so that I could sit and watch it get dark. Quite a few little flies and midges getting in here now. Hopefully not into the inner bit. Just going to get this stove lit, I think, so that it's got plenty of time to do its thing before I start to get hungry. So I've got the chimney open at the back. Make sure that the air inlets at the front are open. And then I'm just going to light. This is the log that I've got. It says light both ends, so we'll do as we're told. And then we'll let that do its thing for a bit. Now that's already roaring because it's getting a good draft through it. So I think I'm going to get these letter beans and sausage edition on. All I'm going to do is put them straight into the mess tin. Keep stirring them on top of that stove until they're nice and warm through. That's the theory anyway. That chimney's just started glowing red, so I've closed the outlet a little bit just to trap some of the heat inside and warm up the beans. Just put that little thermometer on the floor on top of one of those gloves, just so that it's not reading the temperature directly from the floor. And it's already saying it's 17 degrees in here. And it was, what, 13 when I started, about 10 minutes ago. 20.5 degrees in here now. And the beans are ready. Smoking. It's sunset in 5 minutes, 6 o'clock. Gets dark really early now. So I'll eat these and then we'll probably have to get some lights on, I would imagine. Tell you what, this hot tent camping, it's a bit hot, isn't it? In the time it's taken me to eat those beans and sausage, we've gone to 25.1. That's with the door open and all the vents open and this end vent as well. I think I'll open up that chimney in a second and just let it burn off whatever's left. Is that normal for that chimney to go like that? Drop a comment and let me know. It's just at 30.3 degrees on this thermometer. I know you won't see it now, it's just about dark. That's a bit better. Got some light on now. What's this saying? It's definitely going down, 24.2 now. 23.9, so yeah. It's obviously, if you can't tell, the first time I've tried hot tent camping. First time I bought a setup like this. It's very cosy. Obviously I've still got the door open because it's not really cold enough to seal all this heat in at this point. I think I'll have fun in the morning trying to pack this stove away now that it's been so hot and warped and all that kind of stuff, so we might have to have a couple of arguments with it in the morning. I think you definitely need a stool or some sort of chair for this kind of camping though, because obviously that fire's going, you want to be sat next to it. You don't want to be sat on the floor. The floor's still cold, I can feel it. But obviously it's the air higher up and around the tent that's keeping warm. No carbon monoxide alarm yet, which is always good, isn't it? Be nice to be in here in the sort of depths of winter though, when it's freezing outside, but then you would be trying to keep the stove going all night, wouldn't you? Waking up all the time. I'll have to give it a go. I'm not sure how I missed this earlier, but there's a whole gear shelf in the roof of the inner as well. You've got a pocket at the end, the shelf thing, and then a pocket here as well that's got my detector in it. So I've just been chilling for a bit. It's just gone 10:30. The fire's long burnt out. Just looking at the weather and it's saying it's predicting rain for just after 8 o'clock in the morning, all the way up until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Sunrise is not until 20 to 8. I mean, I normally wake up about 6 o'clock anyway. Probably be hitting the road before it gets light, to be fair. So I'll get some sleep now. If there's any dramas, I'll bring you back. Otherwise, I'll see you in the morning. I can hear something moving outside. I don't know if it's a squirrel, but it sounds bigger. Have a listen and see if you can tell me what it is. See you in the morning. Morning. It's 10 to 6. It's not started raining yet, but it's saying it's going to start within the next hour, so I'm going to quickly get packed away in a minute and hopefully get packed away before everything gets drenched. Slept pretty well, woke up a few times, but I always do. The sleeping bag's really warm. It's obviously quite a thick down bag. It's a cheap one, so there's a few feathers everywhere. It looks like I've had a fight with a chicken in here, but I've stayed warm. I will say I am really quite impressed with this tent and the stove. For £250 all in for both of those things, it's it really opens up a new way of camping and a whole new outdoor experience. Now I've tried it, I'll definitely be trying it again. No major issues that I found with the tent or the stove. The one thing, like I said before, that I would have liked is a zip in this part of the inner so I could get through into that other bit, but there is plenty of space in here for one and plenty of storage. There is a little bit of condensation inside here, which you would expect if I've gone from 30 degrees down to 9 overnight, and the heat that was in here versus the cold outside. Not a lot, and it's not dripped or anything, so I think I can forgive it. Beans and sausage.